If you are learning a language at the moment, I'd like to ask you a question. How many minutes per day do you listen to the target language? And the reason why I ask this is that, it's good to have high goals, like reaching a fluency in the language, being able to use it at work. But in order to reach there, it's important to have like these daily steps, stuff you do every day or almost every day. Let's not forget you need quite a lot of vocabulary and expressions in order to speak a language really well. And listening is a great way to get much of the vocabulary, especially if you listen to stuff more than once. So kind of like what happens with music. If you hear a song multiple times, you'll probably start hearing it over and over again in your head, like an earworm. And the same thing can happen with like language learning material and dialogues. So that's quite a effortless way to really absorb much of the language. And I really recommend listening to this whole video to get tips on how to listen effectively, where to find stuff to listen to. So I want to remind you that one great thing about listening practice, if you can even call it always practice, is that you can do it like in so many places, even when you're walking around in the car or in the bus, or cooking or cleaning. Another advantage is that you get used to the rhythm and melody of the language, the sounds. So that will improve your pronunciation likely. And if you don't listen much, it can be quite difficult to understand natural conversations. Especially in the early stages of learning a language, it's good to have things that you can both read and listen. So you can check all the words that you don't know more easily. Also, it's nice because you can listen to even quite difficult texts, and when you have the transcript, it will be just a lot easier to at least get some parts, understand some of the phrases. So where to find these kind of texts? I recommend few places. There are these great Assimil textbooks with their recordings. What's great about Assimil is that they have a lot of dialogues. These days you don't even have to buy the physical book if you don't want to. You have many of the Assimil books in their smartphone app. I like to have the physical books also because phone can be a bit of a distraction also, at least for me. Assimil is great. Many not so great textbooks have only like a small amount of dialogue. So Assimil has a lot of stuff to listen to, and a pretty good simple exercises. And if you listen to a lot of stuff, you don't even need to do exercises. At least not so much if you don't want to. You just absorb the language and write down phrases that can be useful. Another place I recommend is the link.com. It's a website and an app that has a lot of different kind of texts that you can also listen, and also natural conversations, interviews, really interesting people sometimes, and so especially those interviews, you really learn a lot of the natural expressions that you need in conversations. So I highly recommend that app. I listen to podcasts quite a lot, at least for the major languages. There are quite many options. I'm focusing on Japanese at the moment, and I have many podcasts to choose from. Some of the transcripts you can even get for free, at least in Link, but for others you have to pay, but they're usually not very expensive. When you listen to stuff, it's good to maybe at the end of the day even write the approximate amount of minutes that you have listened to that day, to really be honest how much you have been getting listening practice, because otherwise you might wake up to your own scream after a couple of months and realize that I haven't listened much, I haven't made much progress. But when you really write those minutes down, it doesn't have to be accurate, but yeah, I write down minutes to my calendar, and at least on some days, and even if I don't write down those minutes, I still often think like how many minutes did I listen today? Okay, 30. That's okay. Okay, today 45 minutes. Someone has said that if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. So, as I said, it can be good to listen to the same stuff many times. I really want to emphasize that. And it may sound boring, listening to the same thing over and over again, but every time you notice new things and learn new things about the culture, and it's quite enjoyable that first time you listen to it, maybe you didn't understand that much, maybe 30%, maybe 50%, depending on your level, but it's nice to notice the progress. Like, okay, the third time or fourth time you listen to it, now you understand, almost everything. Especially if you have read the transcript and from Link or from other transcript. Of course, preferably it's good to have stuff to listen that are from topics that are of interest to you. So you can think like what kind of stuff you listen in your native language or other languages you speak well, and think like, could I listen to something in the language I'm learning? And I think that can really make the learning process more interesting. You're more likely to put in those minutes or even hours. So maybe you found some topic that it's interesting, but it's still a bit challenging, kind of complicated language. One way to approach this kind of challenging text is that you don't need to focus on all the stuff that you don't know at the moment. No need to get kind of overwhelmed, but you can kind of enjoy all those phrases that you understood. So maybe on a page there were 5 sentences that you could understand, and the first time you listened to or read it, and you can celebrate, like, yes, I understand these 5 phrases from a topic that I'm interested in, and over time, when you listen to the same thing multiple times, you'll understand it more and more. So you can have this kind of trust also that when I repeat it and repeat it, I will get there. I will reach a high level. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. What do you think about listening? What kind of listening have you found useful and effective? And so yeah, please comment me or ask me something if you feel like it.